Matt, it sounds like Trey's intending to play. How does that change the things you want your team to be better at after the first two games?
Yeah. Well, obviously, he played in both exhibition games and played a lot. With the core of our team, he is, a big part of the core of our team. So, I don't think it's that big of a change for him. It's just trying to get, healthy for him more than anything, and get out there and get some reps in and feel good about it. And then obviously anybody, not just him, but it's just I think everybody wants to get on when they travel. They want to get on that floor and shoot in those rims and things of that nature. So I think that getting more familiar there still doesn't change how you're going to guard them. They're a very good team. Obviously, they just had a great win at St. John's and very talented, very athletic, well coached. Obviously, we've played them a couple years, and so in both games, even though I thought our defense in the second half against them last year was the best half defensively, it was still two games where you could probably look at it as we outscored them. Like we didn't stop them in Toronto. We just played a little bit better offensively in the second half than they did, and fortunate enough to get that win, fortunate enough to get the win here, and it's going to be a tough game, so we're looking forward to it.
Kind of going off of that, the simple answer is probably making more shots, but how do you avoid this from being a track meet that it's been the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is take care of the basketball and take good shots. Don't put yourself in vulnerable positions, a lot. It's going to happen. Things are going to happen. Like you're going to have, some turnovers. You just can't have 20 of them. If you keep turning the ball over against really athletic, fast teams, they're just going to get fouled and get a lot of layups. So take care of the basketball, take good shots, keep setting your defense, and, do your best to keep them in front of you.
How do Jakari and CJ and everybody else guarding on the perimeter got to strike that balance between being really aggressive, getting over screens, disrupting handoffs, things like that, disrupting the ball handler, and keeping it in front of them?
Well, it's, a lot comes in there. Does that person have a head of steam? Is he in the open court? Is he in the half court? Is it ball screen defense where there's other people involved? Do they set a ball screen? Do they slip out of a ball screen? Do they ghost? They're manipulating everything offensively. He's one of the best offensive coaches in America. And so, you can't just answer that question in theory with one answer when there's so many things that go into it. You have to square the basketball. And if you're constantly changing your feet and you're constantly giving them angles, they're good anyways. So if you're helping them by changing your feet and, and not being there and help and then not making sure you keep the ball out of the paint, now you're going to play from behind. And if they get angles and you're playing from behind, you're going to be in trouble. Just too good of shooters, too much athleticism, too much quickness. So I think that's for us, not just CJ and Jakari, but for everybody, is just keep the basketball in front of you. But how we guard all the different things I just mentioned, we got to be on the same page. I think that's an important. Anytime you face high octane offenses, you have to be on the same page in what you're doing in the actions that present themselves.
You'd mentioned that Jakari really had his heart set on starting this year, but being able to digest the game for 4 or 5 minutes on the bench and then come into a game fresh, what is the benefit of that he can kind of give you something as a fresh body on ball defender?
Yeah, I think anybody who comes off the bench, I think it's a tough transition because most people are used to starting, of just understanding about how they have to play when they go in there and that energy that you want to bring. You want to bring that energy whether you're starting or not, but you're hoping with those guys that come off the bench, taking in some of the things that we had talked about in practice and that we really drilled on, and then being able to see it before you actually have to guard it or go against how they're guarding us. I think that can help you. I think most people would tell you that they'd rather start the game and get the feel from the actual action, but you're hoping that the guys that come off the bench can understand that and give you that spark.
How much did the Kentucky game help guys like Benner, Mayer, and Clough who have never played in that environment before, and then going into tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of players that have played in big-time games before that didn't look like they had. So it just wasn't them, right? We have guys that have played a lot that didn't play well, at Kentucky, and you hope you have that out of your system is why you play that game. You know, you hope you get. Everybody thinks that first road game is an easy game, and it's not. I don't care how many you've played in, you still have to have that adjustment and that mentality. So, you know, you're hoping the young guys that have never been in it before, you know, Omer's been in some pretty, you know, dicey environments internationally. So any of those high-level international guys across the country, like they've been in some cage matches over there. So like that isn't something that I think is going to bother, you know, guys with those kinds of experiences. But it's so good for the ones that haven't. It's good, period. But it just gives them a taste of what's getting ready to happen here in Alabama, because they're going to have a great environment. It's going to be loud. And so hopefully just kind of going through there and learning that lesson without it counting as a game, you know, can help us be more successful at Alabama. It's the reason we do it.
All the paperwork all set for your first 3 signees here?
Yeah, for 3 of them, yes.
Can you tell us about Jacob Weber, first of all?
Yeah. Well, Jacob Weber gives us great positional size as a guard, probably the best move and shoot guy in the country. Great size, has a uncanny ability to be able to sprint in and get his feet organized and be able to twist all in one motion and shoot, you know, to 25, 28 feet and do it consistently. He's just an absolute weapon on the court. You got to give him a lot of attention, and you got to stick with him. And with that, if you want to take him out of the game, you've just created a lot of space for everybody else to play. So, you know, we're excited. And, you know, obviously he went to La Lumiere this year to get that experience against that competition and get himself ready for college basketball. But, you know, we're excited to get him. You know, we think he's the most prolific shooter in the country. And, you know, he's definitely going to help us in terms of our spacing and how we run things.
Luke Ertl.
You know, tough. I don't know if I've ever seen like a high school guy that we've taken like with more intestinal fortitude. Just a determined player, tough, hard-nosed, gets after it, picks you up full court, bird dogs the basketball. He's really improved his arsenal in terms of shooting the basketball, not just catch and shoot, but getting to his pull-up, getting to bodies, bouncing off bodies, being able to make floaters and runners. He's put a lot of time into his game, you know, as has, you know, Jacob. And that's really what you want, and what we're going towards is, you know, those guys that are skilled because they've put in a lot of time, and having a locker room of guys that are workers that are skilled. And it really helps us from an offensive standpoint. But now we're excited to get Luke.
Rivers Knight.
Rivers Knight, very fortunate to get Rivers Knight. He didn't play this past summer. And, you know, good size, quick release, prolific shooter also, a guy that can, you know, really stretch the defense. And I think that's a very important thing, you know, at that 4 position. You know, if we're able to continue to get good size and keep developing size, whether they're low post guys or lob threats or what have you, I think having a guy like Rivers who's got range to 25 feet that can consistently knock down shots is really going to help you. I think he's got more to him as a player, and I think that's all coming. He's really done a good job of getting in shape and getting his body right after his injury last winter. So very excited about him. It was a short recruiting thing for us, and I think it was just kind of in the right place at the right time, and PJ had stayed on it and just liked what we had saw in terms of his athleticism, his size, but what really separated him was his skill level. I think to keep putting guys out there that can make shots, especially at that position, really helped us. So we're excited about Rivers.
Can you just talk about him as a whole then?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities there, especially everybody's ability to shoot. You know, when you talk about our class with these 3 guys. So I think that's the one thing that jumps out is just that ability to shoot the basketball. And for us, that's what we need. Like we need that space. We need, you know, everybody to be worried about on the floor. And I think that gives you really good balance, really good spacing, and then you can do a lot of things, you know, with that. But obviously Luke as a combo point guard, however you want to put him, and then Jacob as just a big guard as a 2-3, and then Rivers. I look at it as a 4. Maybe he could be a small ball 5. Maybe he can swing over as a 3. Like, I don't know. Just time will tell. But I know he's going to be really good, at the 4 and what they're doing. But I would say the one similarity is the skill level, in this class.
Are you anticipating adding to this class?
Yes.
And then kind of the recruiting mindset now in the world of the portal. And I know it's hurt you less than a lot of places, but do you have to identify needs maybe a little bit differently than you used to 2-3
Right.
years ago?
Right. Yeah, you just have to look at like who you think can be impactful, the next year and be ready. And I think that's hard sometimes because you like guys, but sometimes the guys you think are going to be more impactful aren't, and vice versa. That's why getting there in the summer and getting a lot of work in June, July, August, just going into practice. Because you want guys to be on earning ground. Like right now, it's a little bit tougher because we're deeper and we have an established team. And next year we lose those guys. So how that looks going forward, there's more opportunity there. Because you lose a 4-5, you lose a 2-3, and you lose a point with the guys that have been here for a long time. But then you throw in a 5-man like Oscar and a 3-4 like Liam. It's a little bit of everything. And so like this is what hopefully this class kind of looks like. You have a little bit of everything and replacing those guys.
Anything else?
You saw LeBaron Philon last year, and
Yeah.
you saw what he did to St. John's, and just what kind of challenges he and what do you have to do to disrupt him?
Yeah, just a really good young player. I know he's young for his grade. Last year, I think he was like 17, just turned 18 when we played last year, if I got that right, or maybe he was still 17. But I thought he was really dynamic in our game, and going back and watching it, and just explosive, can drive the basketball, can make some intermediate shots. You can tell from watching him this year that he's really worked on, his perimeter shooting. I think that's the one area statistically when you look at his stats from last year that I think will improve this year. And you can just tell, his confidence level, and he's got the ball more. And anytime you have more opportunities, I think you're going to feel more comfortable, and just a year's experience of being in a high-level program in a high-level league. But he's good, man. He's talented. He's can change directions, change speeds. But when he puts his head down and he barrels downhill, man, he's tough to deal with. He's one of the best in the country.